Let's talk about the solution to x minus 1 over 2 plus 1 divided by 2 plus 3 equals 5. Now, you remember from our discussion that the hardest part of these problems is usually figuring out what to do first, but we're using the principle of inverses, so inverse operations, and we see we have operations like addition and subtraction and division, and we're going to use inverse operations to get rid of these. The big challenge is figuring out which operation to do first. The principle, the guiding principle, is to go from the outside in. So as I look at this, outside doesn't always mean on the outside of the equation. Outside means furthest from x as far as operations are concerned. So if you look at the x, this minus 1 is the closest because it's the first thing that operated on x. And then 2 is the next thing that operated on x. But the last thing over here is 3. So as I look, this 3 is going to be the first thing that I'm going to get rid of because it's the last thing that operated on x. So I undo in the inverse, in the opposite order from which they acted. So I operate by undoing this 3, and I use the inverse operation, which is a subtraction. And I subtract from both sides because you have to keep both sides of the equation balanced. And that gives us x minus 1 over 2 plus 1 divided by 2. And now this is equal to 2 because we subtracted 3 from 5. Now we take this equation. What's our next piece that we need to get rid of? Now I look and it looks like my outsidemost piece is this 2 because as I follow through the equation I see that x was subtracted 1, divided by 2, added 1, and this divided by 2 is the outsidemost piece. It's the last thing that's acted on x. So I come here and I multiply by 2, and I take this side and multiply by 2 also. And that gives me x minus 1 over 2 plus 1 is equal to 4. Okay. Oh, I forgot my plus 1. And now what's the last piece? It's starting to look a little bit more familiar to us. This plus 1 is the last piece. So I'm going to operate on this plus 1 by subtracting 1. And that'll give us x, let's move it up here, x minus 1 over 2 is equal to 4 minus 1, which is 3. Okay, here, why don't I rewrite this over here on this side so that we can see it? What I had just a moment ago was x minus 1 over 2 is equal to 3. Okay, that's just that part right there. Okay, now if I look again, this minus 1 is closest, this 2 is furthest, so I'm going to operate with the 2. So I multiply both sides by 2. And we get x minus 1 is equal to 6. Finally, I have to undo this negative 1, and I use the inverse operation, which is adding 1, and that gives me x is equal to 7. And there's my answer, x is equal to 7. I hope that this helped. I hope that it makes sense, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment or talk to me.